Good evening, one and all. Yes, it's me, Donato. Good evening, good morning. Hello, the world. And for those of you who are new here and watching this on replay, be sure to give me a thumbs up, subscribe, and all that jazz. But hey, we literally have people from all over the world already. Pieter in Australia, Rito in USA, and there's a couple of guys in the UK. We are properly trans-global. Yeah, I literally just arrived in the door, got me cuppa, got a biscuit. I hope you've got your tea and biscuits because we're in for a good one this evening. So, yes, how are you all? Keep the chatter going on the right there. So keep the chatter going amongst yourselves. It's great to see so many of you already here. I need to take a breather because it's been a pretty full-on day. Oh, yes. So in no particular order, yes, we've got Running Romanik, Dave, Rito, Peter. Yes, you've got your cuppa as well, Peter. Is it tea or is it coffee? Come on now. Fess up, fess up. What do you drink in Australia? Come on, let us know. Is it the same as us Brits or US guys? Yes, Rito, by the way, that Appalachian Trail, man, when this lockdown nonsense finishes or whatever, wine, Dave, man, obviously because I've got race coming up on Sunday, I'm avoiding the alcohol at the moment. So, yes. So what I'm going to talk to you about, oh man, I've lost me, I was moving things about and losing my thing. So for the format tonight, yes, it's yes, it is early morning for you guys. For me, I think I need to go to bed. So early morning, I say people from around the world. Firstly, I've got to say a big thank you to all being here live right now. It's fantastic to be able to talk to you and have a little chat. I say chat. Tonight's theme, as I say, it's Lockdown Live, episode 5. Literally yesterday here in the UK, we came out of lockdown, whatever that means. But we've got different tiers, T-I-E-R-S, although I think it's reduced a lot of people to tiers, T-E-A-R-S. But enough about that. That's all I'm going to talk about in terms of C19. But yes, and I'm sure, Peter, you'd like the wine as well. Wine for breakfast? Wine on the cornflakes? I don't know. So, yeah, tonight's theme, which I'll be going to later on as more and more people are coming on live, as they've realised that I am now live. And just like on Instagram, I think I'm on for 5 minutes, and it takes about 2 minutes for Instagram to tell everyone I've gone live. But anyway, so bear with. It'll be about an hour-ish that we'll be here. So feel free to grab cups of teas and biscuits as I'm chatting away. So the theme is about race day strategy. I've got my time trial this Sunday and I'm super pumped, super excited about this. So it's literally 3 days away. 3 days? Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Yeah, 3 days. 3 days away. So I'm and I feel super pumped and ready. So I thought it'd be good to talk about strategies from 5Ks to ultras. And a lot of you guys, it's great to see people here of all different levels and distances, which is fantastic. You know, running is for all people, whether it be 100 meters or 100 miles. It's all great. I know, Rito, 3 days. So if you haven't seen my training up to that, you would have seen up to week 3, which I published on the Sunday. Go back and have a look through all 3. And you've been seeing, I've set my goals. I've been literally blowing my guts out on the track, and so I'll go through an update, and then I've got the time trial. And Peter, you've got a race on Sunday too. Woo! So you are being so good. Now, Peter, in Australia, I know you guys in Australia have been very good about this C19 thing, and you guys have been able to do things a lot more better than here in the UK, where it's been a bit of pandemonium. But is it with people? So are you able to run all in groups and stuff? Because here in the UK, it's time trials only, and we're all socially distances at the start, and it's let out in like 30-second intervals of people. So it's not really a race as such. Yes, you may get an official time if you turn up with a bib and all that kind of stuff. But for us running around a park, it's just what's on the GPS. But I may have a surprise. Who knows? But I am super pumped about this. And so we'll go through the strategy. But before I go into that, I'll just give you a quick update and of what's been happening since I published on Sunday, because there's a lot been happening. Basically shoes as well. Interviews are coming up with some real top, you know, one of them is once again an international best-selling author, an endurance athlete, and he's got an amazing story to share, and a book. I've been going through the book cover to cover, pretty amazing. And I just got to say, in terms of what we're doing, the training, it has been going really well. A lot of you have picked up that I'm feeling really strong. And yes, it may only be 4 weeks, but it's a good challenge, a good test to see what can I achieve from, as you say, back in September when I ran my last 10K, it was just under 40 minutes. I think it was 39 minutes, 40 seconds. And again, if you haven't seen that, I did attach my GoPro to my chest and ran all the way around 10K, just under the 40 minutes. Let's see what I can do with this 4 weeks of training. It's just a little measure, challenge. We've been in lockdown for 4 weeks. It's just an interesting thing to do. And I'll do more challenges like that because at the end of the day, you know, races are being cancelled all over. So I just wanted to do something to fill the time really and for something to do, a bit like this live chat with you guys. So I appreciate this is the 5th week and it's been amazing the amount of people like you guys coming on. And was it, Rita? Is that how you found my channel, the point of view video? Yeah, me heavily breathing. There's no, without giving anything too much away, some of the filming this week, it's been cold, wet and windy. So unlike some social influencers that you see all these pictures on Instagram and whatever, it's all buttercups and roses and tulips and flowers and rainbows. The real nitty gritty stuff. I just publish the videos as is, you know, so if it's me panting heavily, there's no fancy inserts and spills and music and whatever. It's just because that's what running is about really, isn't it? Or is it music? But we'll talk more about as I go through. And in terms of the book I've been reading, it's been fascinating. The insight that this guy's met, you know, some world champions. One of the guys had won the CCC. So for those of you ultra runners, you might have heard the UTMB, which I think is in Chamonix. It's the CCC. So it's across 3 towns that all begin with a C. Combières, Chamonix, and whatever. Anyway, and this guy had won that particular race. And he said, his words were, he says he doesn't understand why people run with headphones on. Now, I know I've got my headphones here to talk to you guys, but when they're running, training, racing, he says he wants to hear everything that's going on. So, you know, I'm sure you'd like to hear more about that. So, but yeah, the shoes, you might have seen last week that I had 2 new Nike shoes. It was a Nike React Miler and the Nike Pegasus 37. And the reason for me purchasing those is that my other shoes had worn out. So I had the Nike React Infinity Run, which were amazing through the summer. I'd worn those out and there was no more traction or anything like that. And the foaminess has all gone. So I'd worn them out. I think I'd done over 800 kilometers on those. And it was a case of I needed some new shoes for the winter. I wanted something with traction. And the bad news is that both of them failed. I had the Nike Pegasus 37, which I'd done some fast intervals on the Saturday, and I was literally slip sliding everywhere. Admittedly, it was pouring with rain, and I know some people don't train in the pouring rain, but I do. Whatever the weather, I do the training that it says on my plan, and I was all over the place. So they had to go. And then on the long run, the React Miler were digging into one of my ankles, and what was interesting is chatting with, I was out today seeing all sorts of people and doing lots of things, and I'll go through that, what I've been doing this week. But one of the guys is a YouTuber, and he said he's sick to the back teeth of shoe review channels because everyone's feet are different, and my feet are different to your feet. You know, it's a case of just find the shoes that fit comfortable. It's, you know, listening to people talking about it, great. If that's what you want to do and spend your time, fantastic. And as you say, Dave, your 37s are okay laced. So I bet your bottom dollar, Dave, if we put our feet to feet like that, they would be totally different. So, you know, and my feet have changed over the years. I've been running now 5 years. So whilst my first shoes were the Pegasus, I think 32s, yeah, because it's 5 years ago, so 32s. The 37s just weren't working. But also when I was training that time, it was in the summer, not in the winter. So I had changed after that half marathon. I moved over to Brooks Ghost, and completely different shoes to the Pegasus 30 range. And they worked fantastic for me for marathon. So everybody's feet are different. All the brands are different. And I don't know about my feet prettier than yours. Shall I hold them up? No, I won't do that. But they look a pretty bad state. Once I did publish on Instagram a picture of my feet, and I lost a lot of followers because they don't like the sight of bad nails and blood and things like that. But again, that's what happens when you do running and endurance running. Nails fall off. It's not pretty. Yeah, as I say, it's not buttercups and roses and tulips. There's a song about that, isn't there, from The Sound of Music? But so those shoes went back. And Nike, you know, I've got nothing against Nike at all. It's just that those shoes didn't work. I think the way that pegs fitted on my foot, they fitted well, but the traction just wasn't good enough. So lo and behold, Nike said, oh, look, we've got these. And it's a particular pair. So yes, another pair of Nike literally today. So I thought, let's do an unboxing. Yeah, do you want to see what's in these? Do you want to see what's in these? Ooh, ooh, ooh. Yeah. Comments, do you want to see what's in the box? Should we show you what's in the box? Let's have a look what's in the box. So as it says here, pull for sport. Ouvert ici. Again, for my French followers and those in French Canada. So let's open the box. What's in the box? Oh, are they Infinity Run React? Dave, remember what I said about the... they were a bit slippery slidey. Yeah, early Christmas. Yes, I know. So now, just to let you know, look, they're dark and grey. So this might be a bit of a giveaway. The season that these shoes are designed for. Oh, I got to say, I take my hat off to Nike. So these have literally come straight out. I just love this box. Isn't that? Oh, man. It's gorgeous. Like Christmas has come early, as you've just said, Rito. Yes, dodgy accent. Who's got the dodgy accent? Although I was in Redditch, and for those of you who might be old enough to remember Kevin Turvey, Kev's here, investigative journalist from the 80s, and rest his soul, Rick Mail, but amazing comedian. I love this box. So as it's grey and dark, it might be a bit of a giveaway. The season that these Dave, hey, Dave, very smart. Have you had these boxes before, Dave? I'm sure you're working this out. So these are made for winter shoes. So Nike, and as I said, I've got nothing against Nike at all. Ooh, look. So there's the pink swoosh. So yes, it is the shield, but which shield? Because they do a whole range of shields. Now the word shield for Nike is they're waterproof. Now I didn't get them because they're waterproof. The key thing for me, I don't mind my feet getting wet. Feet gets wet. It's the close, Dave. You nearly got the prize there. There is a 3 in it. It is the 37 shield. Now, what these have got is Storm Tread. That's interesting. I mean, we have Storm Carolina, Storm this. Anyway, it says wet traction rubber. Can you see that? There you go. Wet traction rubber. So if these still slip in the wet, they're going straight back to Nike. But I love the design. The colors are fantastic. As I say, the Peg 37s worked fine for me, but they were just too slippy, slidery or whatever. And I bought them specifically for the winter, and they just had to go back because by the time the spring comes, if I'm going to be running these in my easy runs, these are designed for my easy runs, nice and easy, and maybe some intervals. But I have found that my Saucony Fast Witch are super fast and super traction. Unless there's ice or whatever. I mean, those are the race shoes that I'll be using on the time trial on Sunday, the Fast Witch. I haven't done a review of them because I'm not really a shoe reviewer, but I might talk about it. I mean, I don't know. Do you want to watch me holding a pair of shoes to the camera and just talking to it, you know, like this, and maybe holding it to my ear? I don't know. Do you want me doing that on the channel? But yeah, these are the 37 shield. So waterproof and rubber traction. I can feel they feel a lot more better, and they look pretty much the same. So my guess is, Dave, it's exactly the same as your Peg 37s. These are the 37 shield. And yes, your feet might sweat much, but I've never had these. So that's the other test that I'm going to be trying, Dave, is to see how they work in terms of breathability and so on. So if they do sweat a lot, and as we know, if your feet sweat a lot, then they may blister. So that's how blisters are formed. Hey, Ben, they are nice kicks, aren't they? So I just love the way these are designed. Whether they work on my foot, I don't know. Never tried these before. But anyway, that's the Pegasus 37 shield that I'll be trying, not before the run, because obviously I don't want to mess my feet up if they don't work on my feet. So with time trial coming up on Sunday, and yes, exactly, good wicking socks. I did do a live chat on last night on Twitter, and it was all about one of the questions I asked about socks, because when I completed my triathlon, I noticed that a lot of the athletes from transition from the bike to the run, a lot of people that I was passing that were running didn't have socks on. They were just running with their trainers on. And of course, a lot of the runners were going, ah, on Twitter last night that we were chatting on the old UK run chat. And they said they'd get blisters if they didn't have socks. But triathletes tend to run without socks. And some people were saying they've got to have super thick socks and things like that. But I found that I've got super thin, very fine wicking socks. And they work brilliant for me. It took me, I think, 4 or 5 different brands before I found the pair that worked for me. So they are super fine, super wicking, and they work. Yes, they get wet in the rain and all that type of stuff, but they work for me. Maybe I should do a video on socks. I don't know. And we'd all like to know, Ben, how are you feeling after that 50K? I know your legs were a bit battered on the Monday, but hey, your first 50, I'll say that after putting my teeth back in, 50 kilometers. Yes, Ben Notley, if you can look on his comments there, he's got a YouTube channel. Him and Dan Runs completed a 50K ultra. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Ben, that was your first 50K. And I've never heard of Stan's socks either, but I'll have to Google it when I look back. Is that the name of the brand, Stance? And but anyway, how are the legs, Ben? Speaking of legs, I'm going to tell you how my legs are. I've literally just got back from massage therapist, and you'll see that on my weekly update on Sunday, just a sort of part of the prep. And because I think it's now time, because there's so many of you now live, I think we're now ready to go into race day strategy. And I'd love to hear from you guys in terms of doing the ultras. Leave some comments. Are your legs still completely shattered? Yes. Shin splits. Oh man, Ben just reading out, my legs feel. Ooh, yeah. Yeah, I was going to say different socks for different courses. So leave your comments below if you've got any race day strategies, whether it be from 5Ks to ultras, and I'll read some out as I'm going along. So what I'm going to go through now as part of this live, it's not just the race day itself, because the strategy, when I say race day strategy, is we need a strategy. So let's say this middle finger is, it is that finger, not that one. Yeah, so middle finger is race day. Yeah, so that's race day. And then to the left, or is that right? Anyway, this is the week before, or weeks building up to the event. This is the event day, and this is post-event day. So when I talk about strategy, is we need to look at all of it together. It's not just on the day itself. And I've lost count of how many times I speak with people where it's all about the day, how many gels, how many this, how many that. And really, part of the race itself is your preparation. And that's what I'm doing right now. And part of my preparation is making sure my legs don't have any knots and bruises or anything like that. And a massage is a great way to clear all that out, getting me ready for race day. So do you guys go for massages or foam rolling or whatever, or do you have any rituals that build up, or is this part of your consistent thing that you do all the way through as part of your training? Also, for me, irrespective of the distance, whether it be 5K, not having run an ultra, I've run 42 kilometers. I haven't done 50K. Is it that big a difference, the last 8 kilometers? I'd love to hear from you guys. Anyone here ran 100 miles? Leave it in the comments there. But one of the key things in preparation is hydration and food. We've all heard about carb loading for a marathon. And Dave, your last comment got blocked because you've said a certain word in there, but let me release it because I think it's okay. Yes, that's right. No sex for a week before a race. Top tip. Oh, man. Yeah. I mean, we all know about the elite athletes. There's none of that stuff going on. in terms of prep, fueling preparation, because one of the things a lot of people are asking me when I go on a long run, it may have been yourself, Rito, or someone else is asking for a long run, what do I do on a long run? How many gels? No, it was Steve Jessica, he was asking me on one of my videos, what do I do for a long run? What's my nutrition, what I'm drinking and stuff? And to be honest, up to 21 miles, if I'm doing a slow, easy run, dependent on the weather, yeah, I've not ran in super hot days, but on a regular temperature one, no water, no gels, because I've prepped all the way throughout the week where I remain hydrated throughout the week. Definitely no alcohol the day before a long run, night before a long run, or maybe not even during the week. You often hear people who are doing their 16-week training plans, marathon training plans, no alcohol at all. Once they finish the race, then yeah, there's whoa, you know, happy wine day or whatever, wine hour. And it's definitely, as I'll read the comment here from Ryan Wilmot, diet, getting the easy runs in, plot a time frame which I try to run at and relax. After a race is just slow warm down and stretching. Absolutely, Ryan. And as Peter said, down in Australia, the old rule, and nothing new on race day. Training on the course, if you can, help you feel more prepared. Absolutely. If you know the course and you can train on the course, fantastic. Helps with preparation as well. But the week before, it's all about drinking, you know, hydrating with water, herbal tea, all that type of stuff, and eating sensibly. If you're doing endurances, you know, I would say longer than say 10K, but even 10Ks, I don't know. I'd love to hear from you guys who race race sub 40 10Ks. Do you carb up for a 5K, 10K? I don't know. I mean, for me, my diet is predominantly just carbs anyway, so I might up the carbs where I'll have carbs for lunch and dinner on a few days before the actual marathon. But in terms of regular meals, I tend to have a carb meal a day. Either the lunch or a dinner will be my carb, and that's what I do every day. So whether there's a race or not, that's what I do. But in terms of preparing for the marathon distance or half marathon and marathon distance, I will carb up and probably have some pizza pasta as lunch and dinner the day before as well, so get my carb up. But I do that also the day before a long run, so I'm carbed up and nutritioned up for the long run. Does that make sense? So I don't run with a bottle of water or anything, but again, everybody's different, and don't follow what I do. That's why I don't often publish what I'm doing in detail on social medias or whatever, because some people do take it literally. A bit like with shoes, I don't do shoes because what shoe works for me probably won't work for you, and the same with nutrition. So check with what works for you. I know some people need to run with water if they're doing a 5K and they just keep sipping on it. That's fine. If that's what works for you, carry on doing that. Then lemon chicken and egg fried rice the night before. Oh yes, you see, you've got the rice, which is the carbs, and the chicken excuse me, chicken is the protein. Perfect combination there. And a good night's sleep the night before. I would say the whole week, Dave. You need a whole week. If you can get into a routine of sleeping well. I won't tell you what time I got up the other day, but boy, I think I needed it. I think I must have slept for nearly 12 hours. That was this week. I can't remember which night it was, but I went to bed super early. I was probably in bed by now, and woke up absolutely, you know, body needs sleep, but sleep is the best. As I mentioned on the recovery live chat, is sleep is the best form of recovery. So yeah, getting a good night's sleep. And you may have seen on a guest that I had on, and he was talking about marathons that he'd ran, sub-3 marathons, and super fit young guy. But the first marathon, night before, he'd done all the training, ready for a sub-3. The night before the marathon, he was out dancing, clubbing. Yeah, didn't get much of sleep, and ran 3 hours and 1 minute. Yeah, so it impacted him. Following marathon, he done easily sub-3. So the sleep does have a major impact. But again, don't stress over it. I know that I was stressing the night before my first marathon. Oh, I'm not getting enough sleep, enough sleep. I think the key thing is rest and relax. And I would say the day before, and the coach that's coaching me for this 10K, he's told me Saturday, rest up. And I used to get the same with regards to marathon and Peter might relate to this because we were both in Chicago together, that there was some other runners that I knew from social media were staying at the same hotel in Chicago. And on the Saturday before the race, I saw them on the Saturday night, and there was a bunch, 4 or 5 of them had just got back from an all-day bus tour around the city, and they all said they were exhausted. So can you guess what kind of a marathon they all had the following day? Yeah, they all struggled. But for them, it was just about finishing and getting out. So the time wasn't important to them, but they all struggled with the marathon. So whatever time you're doing is have a good rest the day before. Rest your legs, because your legs need to be, whether it's a 5K or an ultra, they need to be pumped and ready to go on the day. And whether it be a 5K or 50K, if you've seen my interviews with some top endurance athletes of all distances, and I've had, you may have recall, they had the world record holder from the Land's End to John O'Groats, and Carla Molinaro. She'd ran, I think it's 1600. I think she's running 120 kilometers a day, every day for 13 days. Yeah. And I asked her the question, I says, what's harder to do, a fast 5K or a 50K? And she said a 5K is harder. And when I asked other endurance athletes for the same question, they all say the 5K is harder. In fact, when I was reading in this book, the guy who won the CCC, he said a 5K is harder than doing the CCC, because whilst it may be a shorter period of time, you've taken your body to such a high level. If you're going flat out, and you may have seen Tim Gross injured his calf on a 1500 meter run. When you're doing that explosive speed and distances, that makes us more prone to injury, and it's so important getting the rest and nutrition and help and doing that. So whilst they may be shorter distances, and people tend to have the marathon up there as a flagship, and ultras is the shorter distances are more intense and quite tough. So the preparation should be similar. So I think that's covered in terms of the prep of the week before. Was there anything else that you guys have been saying? Yes, carb up for distance, better hydrated. No, yeah, as Dave said, there's nowhere to hide in the 5K. I have to stress with the 5K also, and obviously, I mean, you look at, say, the 100 meters, just when they're at the blocks, if you don't come out the blocks correctly, you've lost the race. You know, I know it's nanoseconds, but hold on, Rito, I think for some reason, again, your question has been held for review. I don't know why. Maybe it's mentally. This came up when I was doing my sets on the Saturday. There was lots of other runners from all different clubs and so on, and we'd all met up at the Costa for a coffee after. And a lot of the sets that we were doing, and the consensus was, and we have to agree, is that for a 5K, there's nothing to hide. But also, if you're not mentally ready, you know, with the difference, you know, it's all about seconds when it comes to a 5K. You know, whether you from running, say, a 15-minute 5K to a 15-minute 10 seconds, it's the mentality difference. Are you there ready to go? Boom. And it's the same with distances. The thing with the CCC and the UTMB, because it's such a grueling course and intense, and you're going through the night and it's mountains, your body can only take a certain amount of bashing. And then, if that's a nice way of putting it, and after that, it's up here, because your body's gone. You know, it can't take anymore. Ben, look who this cat's dragged in. Come on now, let's keep the banter going there. And hello, Paul, welcome. Yes, as you're saying, Paul, there's no, you know, you got to be ready to go bang, bang, bang on that 5K, because as soon as the gun goes, you're off. And which will bring me to, was there anything else on the preps? The 3rd K and the 5K is the toughest. Yeah, absolutely, because it's right in the middle. It's the middle bit, and it's the same with marathons. When I was doing the marathon, the hardest bit, if I do it in kilometers, I know there's some guys who work in miles, but I do in kilometers. The toughest part of a marathon is the 25k to 32k. Yeah, that 7 kilometers is the hardest part. And if you can engage your brain and hold that, we're getting into race day strategy now. But anyway, that 5k, that 7k is the toughest part, because you've gone past the halfway point and you can't see the finish yet. The finish line's not there, but once you've gone past that 32k, you've got 10 kilometers left and a 10k in your brain, and then you're into single digit kilometers. Psychologically is yes, exactly right. I think I've hit a good point here. Ryan's picked it up exactly. Is don't look at the watch between 25 and 32k. Well, firstly, I've got my watch on, but I never look at the splits. Whilst it's bleeping at me every kilometer, I never look at the splits. But the races that I've done, whether it be Frankfurt, Chicago, definitely the overseas ones in Europe, it's marked in kilometers. And I think the US ones, correct me if I'm wrong, Peter, is certainly when I was at Chicago, they have mile markers, but I think they have 5 kilometers, 10, 15 kilometers. So the times are recorded in kilometers. So I'm just looking at the kilometer markers. So psychologically, I'm looking at it and I see the 25k marker and I go, right, head down, let's hang on, yeah, or hold whatever pace I'm on. Hopefully not hanging on, because it's the last 10k, the last 6 miles, that 10k, that's where we come holding on. And bicarbonate soda, I've heard of that, holds off lactate buildup. But Chris, lactate, at what distances does it start holding people up? Because I've heard the bicarbonate soda can have a bit of a other effect down there. But yeah, bicarbonate soda, you know, the old fizzy water. I've heard beetroot is another thing that you can throw in, and our muscle fibers are really good for that. But let's get into race day. Yes, exactly, Chris. See, yeah, I think one of the questions about Portaloo is, again, the 5k, 10k. You stop at a Portaloo, you can kiss your PB goodbye. You know, that's it, it's gone. I think you may be able to get away. I remember one guy, I think he ran a 76 minute half marathon, which is super fast, and that was with a toilet stop. Yeah, but he said he had a quick toilet stop and he was faster after the toilet stop. And yeah, so I wouldn't recommend having a toilet stop during a half marathon or a marathon. I have had, if you saw my last marathon, I had 3 toilet stops during the marathon, but then that's another story. So yes, Peter, thanks for confirming, Peter. Yes, there was kilometer markers as well. So some of the races have kilometer markers, mile markers, and that's what I do. I don't use the watch, as you're saying, Ryan. I don't look at my watch. I'm running on feel. And but sometimes, especially with the marathon majors, there's clocks everywhere, and depending on when you started, is you're looking at the timer, and obviously it's the timer from when the elites had started. So when you're passing the halfway point, there's a big clock over the gantry telling you your time, which can be a bit off-putting, because you're thinking, oh, I'm all over the place, but really you're actually ahead of schedule. So try not to look. So up to 5k, the bicarbonate soda works. And yeah, so for me, Sunday 10k. So yeah, I might not try that. But again, as was said earlier, Chris, there was one of the things that someone mentioned, Chris, is don't try anything new on race day. So I won't be trying that this Sunday. I might sort of build up to it and try it at later ones. But we'll get into the day itself now. So for 5Ks to ultras, what do we do on the day? In fact, only today when I was having my massage, the lady asked me, says, do you have any rituals on race day? And remember, we mentioned last week on recovery where people have rituals. And I was talking about the book, Good to Go. Yes, all about recovery and all the bullshit that she's uncovered with the industry. And I make no apology for saying bullshit, because a lot that's going out there is bullshit. But what she did conclude is, if it works for you, carry on doing it. Whatever the science says, and we've heard a lot about follow the science the past 9 months anyway, but I don't want to slip into the 19 topic. But if it works for you, carry on doing it. So So Chris, if the bicarbonate soda works for you, great. I did see Paul, you mentioned that you ran on it, it felt real slow. So everyone's body's different. Like if I had some of the gels that I work, the gels that I use, some people throw up from having them. And then there's other drinks and foods. I was trying to look at what I've got here. Ooh, as it's close to hand. Next week, as there's so many of you now live, this won't be happening next week because I'm going away up to the Lake District camping. Yay, camping. So if you're up in the Lake District and you want to come and say hello, I'm going to be doing some jolly jogging around the Lake District and the mountains and all that. But I've bought myself Chia Charge. I swear by these on long runs, wherever nutrition before, during and after. So if I'm going at a nice, easy pace, I can take solids. If I'm running at pace, I can't touch any of this because I'll get stomach cramps and everything else that comes with stomach cramps. Yes. So, but I love these. I don't know if you guys have used Chia Charge. I know that a lot of you for endurance running swear by, what's that drink? I used it during my triathlon. I can't remember the name of it now. It's escaped my brain. But on the race day, depending on the distance, and I bet you, Ben, as you're on from your 50K, what you are eating and drinking, I bet, see, someone told me that an endurance is basically just a long run with picnics along the way, which is a polite way of saying that you need to eat and drink because you can't keep going for that amount of time without eating and drinking. So you do what works for you on the race day, but you practice it. And yes, we're all going camping, but I'm going to be in a camper van, not in a tent because it's freezing here. Oh, I think it's like 3 degrees. So I think I'd freeze my nudges off if I was in a tent then. But I'll be in my van. I'm really looking forward to that. So this time next week, this won't be happening, but I'll re-kick it off the week after. So lockdown live, and there's no more lockdowns anyway. Fingers crossed next week. So, but I do love this live thing. So keep the comments for, and I'll ask for some feedback of the formats and stuff, and we'll add some other things in there. And yes, Dan was wheeling him around. So absolutely, someone had to. But when it's your first one, it really does help when you're with someone. And I'm guessing the longer the distance, the more it helps. And as I mentioned in one of my tips in race day, is if you're with someone pacing, helping you, whatever the distance, if there's someone with you that you've trained with, it helps so much more, not just psychologically, but also mentally and all of that. It's a bit of banter you can chat with as you are going along. So on the race day, if you have someone you can race with, run with, whatever the distance, and that you've trained with as well, then fantastic. And hello, Duncan Edward. I just saw that. I wasn't ignoring you, Duncan. There's so much going on in there in terms of the comments. So welcome. Be sure to give it a thumbs up, everybody. Come on now, guys, give it a thumbs up. Helps boost up this video, as we say. So the day itself, having someone with you, it all helps. On this Sunday, I'll be doing the time trial with a group of people that you may have seen me do the 5K time trial that I've done. It would be 2 weeks last Sunday. So not the Sunday just gone, but the week before, where I ran, I think it was an 18 minutes 30, 5K, which was fantastic. Running with a number of the guys and gals there. And we'll be doing the 10K TT with that small group. So there's only 4 of us. And that's the groups that they were doing time trials anyway. If we were doing events, it's in groups of 2s and 4s or 6s. And you're welcome to come and join me. I'm not going away next Thursday. I'm going away from Monday. Yeah, I'm away all week. So yes, I'll be away all week, and I'm really looking forward to this because it's been a bit claustrophobic being on all this lockdown. So it's good to get out to nature. And I might do a review of my Hoka Torrent because that's what I'll be running with out on the trails there. So yes, race day. Let's get back on topic. So in the morning we get up. Yes, we've had a good night's sleep. Hurrah! And we wake up, feel all refreshed. And I think what I was trying to scroll through on a lot of people were commenting. I'm reading through here. I know that Ryan mentioned about a diary calendar. It's important being prepared of the time you have the alarm to get you up, or if you wake up organically, fantastic. For me, I wake up organically, but I always have an alarm because the last thing, especially with marathon majors, they start at that time. If you don't get there, you're shunted to the back. So I have to get in a pen at a specific time. So I always have an alarm just as a fail-safe, just in case I oversleep. So I've got my schedule ready of what I'm going to eat. I've got the food with me, drinks, everything ready for the morning. So when I wake up, you know, the old shower, shave and all that, get obviously I've got my beard, so I need to shave my beard, but anyway, you know, the routine, and I'll know what I'm going to eat. So for me on a 5K, it's literally just 2 slices of toast, 2 hours. Anything closer to that, I'll tend to get stomach cramps because I'm running at quite a speed. So minimum 2 hours before the race time, run time. And yes, Yarrow is running with me, Paul, along with Faye and Chris. So there'll be a group of us, so that should be good. But for the 5K, 2 slices of toast, that's me done. Herbal tea, I'll hydrate, not too much, because for me, at my age, I tend to frequent the toilet quite regularly. So I'm normally fully hydrated anyway, the day before, the week before. So the hydration isn't really an issue for me on race day. And for the 5K anyway, I'm not drinking, eating anything. It's just pedal to the metal, boom, yeah, gone. And 10K, same, boom, no drinking or eating during the 10K. And it will probably be 2 slices of toast again for me. So that's my 5K, 10K in terms of the morning. For a half marathon, I'll probably have a bagel or 2, depending on how peckish I feel. Again, minimum 2 hours before, minimum. And so nothing before. I learnt my lesson at the Isle of Man half marathon, where I'd had breakfast a few hours before, a cold, wet, rainy morning, and I burnt a lot of energy. And about 40 minutes before the race start, I was absolutely famished and hungry. And I made the mistake of just eating half a bar of this stuff. Literally 2 miles in, I had severe cramp and almost had to stop. Didn't finish my race, but you know, no solids. I certainly learned my lesson. But again, some people can work, you know, everyone's digestive systems are different. So do what works for you. And I'll refer back to Peter again. Over in Australia, she said, nothing new on race day. So practice, practice, practice. So you can practice for a 5K, 10K, the start, just by doing a fast 1K reps or 2K reps, and see how you feel, how you've prepped for that. So the hydration, the food and all that. And if you're getting cramp while doing the training sessions, then you've probably not allowed enough time for the food to digest through your system. So move it back a bit further. So instead of 2 hours, move it to 3 hours, yeah? And see how you feel then. Or try different foods. The toast bit was just something I picked up from one elite athlete. And it was literally toast and jam and a bit of butter. I don't have butter myself, I have margarine. But this guy was talking about the nutrients and things and like that. And I think some people have coffee in the morning. Not for me, because again, that causes stuff down my digestive system. So for me, it's always herbal tea or just water, you know, no additives. Most definitely 100% for me, I do not touch any of these energy drinks, not one bit, not before, not during, not after. No, 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 I don't touch any of that stuff. But that's me. For some people, they swear by it. And yes, Dave, I was just about to say jam, peanut butter, and caffeine gel. Absolutely. That's a beautiful mix of nutrition there, where you've got your sugar, so you're getting your instant energies from the jam. The peanuts is slow energy burn, and the butter. And the bagel is fantastic carbohydrates without the fiber. So some people, I think someone was asking me, oh, do you take porridge? Which I used to, until I ended up in the toilets, because porridge has a fair bit of fiber in it. But again, porridge is a fantastic, if your intestines can take it and the fiber's fine, it has a beautiful slow burn energy for you. So having some porridge in the morning for breakfast, especially for ultras and that type of stuff, you know, marathons and ultras, it's a fantastic slow burning energy. But again, there's different brands of porridge. See what works for you. And also some people put milk in it. Some people put just hot water. But again, the milk can have an issue, and water and lactose and all that type of stuff. The long and the short of it, see what works for you. So that's the breakfast. And some people, whilst they walk into the race or getting started or driving or whatever, they're sipping on water through the morning. again, do what works for you. And I won't go through the details of what I've seen at the start of various marathons and half marathons, but when I'm up at the front with the elite crowd, is I've heard stories. I mean, what I've seen clearly proves the stories that I heard beforehand. Is you're supposed to be hydrated to the point where you're bursting for a pee just before the race. Now, for me, that's too much detail or whatever, and I'm thinking, whoa. But I have seen people. I certainly remember. Am I allowed to say this? There's no squeamish people, is there, online right now? New York Marathon, because there's over 50,000 runners at Verrazano Bridge. So we're at Staten Island, and we're all 2 levels. Yeah. You see what's coming? There's 2 levels. So you got runners on the top level of this bridge, and then there's runners on the lower level of the bridge. And the stories of yellow rain coming to the lower runners, but I won't say any more about that. But yeah, I do remember vividly one guy jumping over a barrier at the start of New York Marathon, and he ran into the portaloos for the media folks, and everyone was shouting, "Stop, stop." He says, "No, I'm going for the, do you want me to pee?" I mean, I won't repeat what he's saying in a very strong American accent. I was basically shouting at these guys, "You want me to pee right here on the wall, or do you want me to pee in a portaloo?" That was my poor American accent. So yeah, I think we get the gist of that, because once you get moving, you sweat it out. So what works for you, it works. But KW will be telling you this. Yes, absolutely. He will be. I hope so. I hope the weather is okay for Sunday. Yeah, fingers crossed. It is going to be cold, Paul. So I think temperatures of about 4 degrees Celsius. And yeah, it's the other thing. And the key thing, as Paul has mentioned, if you read in the comments on there, is that if you've done the training, trust the process. So again, the book I'm reading now, there's a lot of, especially the ultra runners, you got to trust the process, that you've done the training, that psychologically you're ready. And I see so often where people do, Paul, it's blocked that particular message, Paul. I think the word hard might be misinterpreted, but and yes, as you say, Dave, I've been bursting for a pee, and you sweat it out. So go with the flow, pun intended. But trust the process. That I've seen people where they're doing training where they have to run. If they're training for a marathon, they feel in their mind they have to run the 26 miles in a training run. That helps their confidence. And I certainly remember the professional coaches that were working with the charity that I was running. They said that you shouldn't be running for more than 3 hours on a long run. And for those of you training for ultras who've done ultras, I've had all sorts of kickback from people. It's not my theory, it's from professional coaches. Yeah. So the 3-hour rule, and not to be running longer than 3 hours on one specific run. So irrespective of your pace, tire, distance, whatever, it's no more than 3 hours. My long runs, easy long runs, are done and dusted, 20 miles, 21 miles in about 2.5 hours, 2 hours 40. That's slow, easy runs. And no water, no gels. And but when I was a beginner, it'd often be 3 hours. Sometimes I think I went over to 3 hours 20, and then I made a mistake on one where I'd completely lost it, and I think it was 3 hours 40, and I was suffering for days after that. And it took me so long to recover that if you've battered your body, you've got to be ready for the next sets of running. And if you can't run for 3 or 4 days, then that sort of defeats the point of doing that particular long run. But I do get it that people need to do certain distances for their confidence. And I've seen people go out and run fast 5Ks, which again, you don't need to do as part of a beginner training for marathons or ultras. You don't need to do that. But again, people will do that to help their confidence, which I understand as well. And if that's what works for you, but just follow the process and follow the training and trust in the training. So I'm going to trust my training for the 10K, that time trial on Sunday, and hopefully, fingers crossed, it will go to plan. If it doesn't, well, I've had a good time. I've certainly enjoyed my training. If you watch my video diaries of each week, I'm loving it, absolutely loving it. So we've done our breakfast, we've prepped for that. We come to the front of the race, yeah? So we're there ready to go. We've got all our gels, everything that we need, all our backpacks, and that's just for a 5K. No, for your ultras and all that type of stuff. So ensuring you've got everything that you need for the race. A lot of marathons these days, in particular marathon majors, if you're running those, there is water every mile. So you don't need to have any bottles of water with you. Every mile there is water. Even the non-major marathons, there's water every sort of 5 kilometers, which is plenty if you're running slow and easy for a marathon and ultra. You don't need to be sipping on water all the time. Every 5K is plenty as well. So keeping hydrated. But again, depending on your body composition and size and type, you might need more water than others, and also the pace that you're running at. You know, if you're running super fast, you might sometimes need water to just throw over yourself to cool you down, not just drink it. So there's all reasons for that particular water. But it's going, the pace is so essential. You might have heard of the phrase, don't burn all your matches all at once. And that applies whatever the distance, whether it be a park run or 100 miles. The biggest mistake I've seen from what people tell me is going off too fast too soon. So, you know, I've seen people on a 5K where they're super sprinting, and if they're lucky, they can hold it for the first 3K, and then they literally plummet the last 2 kilometers. Everybody passes them and they're completely out of energy. And it's the same whether it be a 10K, half marathon. I've lost count of people where I'm passing absolutely on the half marathons and marathons where you're going out at a steady, easy pace, and then you pick it up and you'll be passing people who've completely, what I call, burnt their matches. And that's irrespective of distance. So work at a pace that you know works for you. Now, whether it be on feel. Now, we talked about the watches. Again, some people need to look at their watches to ensure they're going at the right pace. But again, this is the training. If you've done the training at those paces, you should be getting a feel of how you feel at that pace. So run by feel as opposed to looking at the clocks and times, because I certainly vividly remember, I mentioned this story to Paul, where there was 2 super fit athletes at a park run ahead of me, and they had all the gear, and I think it was only my 2nd park run or 3rd park run, and they were looking at me and having a bit of a giggle when I was doing my jig and dance for a warm-up, and they all looked super athletic with all their running vests and everything, and they went off like a bull in a china shop, and I wasn't far behind them. But as the kilometers progressed, what I noticed, both of them, they kept looking at their watch. Literally every like 100 yards, they kept looking at their watch. And whereas I was just running, and then I passed the first one, the other one went ahead of them, passed the first one, and I could hear the breathing, and again, no headphones, and they were shot. They'd burnt their matches. And then I caught up with the next one, again, kept looking at the watch, and I'm thinking, just run. It's this, because for me, you know, 5K, it's over in 18, 19 minutes, under 20 minutes. It's bang, bang, you're done. Keep looking at that, you're losing balance, and it's not good, you know. So you should be running like this, not you'll fall over, you know, you might injure yourself. Joking aside. But so feel, and that's the training. Run on feel, whether it be 5K, 10K, half marathon. Got it. And obviously with the ultras, it's starting off easy. And the guy who'd won the CCC, I think at one point, whilst he won it, he didn't get into first position. I think in the first few miles, I think the first 20K, 30K, he was in 10th position. And then he just slowly picked it up and worked his way through, because the other guys at the front had all burnt their matches. So he didn't overtake the guy who was leading and getting first position until there was about 7 kilometers left. So he left it right there at the end, passed him, and then pedal to the metal. However, you put pedal to the metal after 100 miles. He won that the CCC literally in the last 7 kilometers. So it's all about pacing strategy and running your own race, yeah, as opposed to chasing the hare at the front, who you may never have met before. You don't know what their race strategy is. And for a lot of people, and certainly I've heard others, is where you just go flat out and then you just hang on and hang on. Some people can do that, others can't. And I certainly remember one guy, I don't think he'd ever ran a marathon, And he said the strategy to run a marathon is you run the first mile as fast as you can, and then you speed up. Yeah, which is good for a joke, stand-up comedy, but never ran a marathon, so you definitely don't do that. So that's the event itself. And when you finish, yes, you finish the run. And this is where it's often more important than the actual race itself. It's the recovery, because especially if you've ran a real blisteringly fast 5K, 10K, you've really hammered those muscles hard. Whilst it's a short period of time, it's important to get the stretches in, post-run stretches, post-run cool downs. Certainly I've learned from the group that I'm training with now is definitely at least a 15-minute, 20-minute warm-up, 3, 4, 5 kilometer warm-up before a 5K time trial. It'll be the same before a 10K. So dynamic stretches beforehand, but after the race is a cool down. You may have seen when I've done that 5K time trial, a group of us, we then done sets after that, where we done 2 minutes, 1 minute, 2 minutes rest, 1 minute rest, and then repeated that 3 or 4 times. So we've done sets to cool down after the time trial. So that makes our muscles cool down correctly and not cramp up. Whilst we may not have another time trial for however many weeks, we want to look after our muscles and not injure them, because it's so easy that you've done a race and then you go out a day or 2 days, or for me, when I've done a marathon, I have at least a week off of no running. I might go walking, but no running. And from that is basically rest and recover. It's the eating and the drinking and putting all the energies back in, your protein powder drinks, your milk. Chocolate milk is a favorite for people. Recovery drinks. I think I've certainly heard of eggs, scrambled eggs, or a fry up. I remember after one marathon, we had a massive fry up type meal of bacon, liver, sausages, chips, all thrown in, eggs, the lot, because you just want to replenish it all. I don't know how many elephants you ate, Ben and Dan, after your 50K ultra. But again, some people after a run, they don't feel like eating, and that's where these protein powder drinks work really well, or other types of drinks that with nutrients in there, or milk. As I say, milk is a great recovery drink. Just basic milk is fantastic. And just to get your body to recover and feel good, ready for the next sets of training. And that basically, guys, is it in terms of strategy of before, during, and after. In terms of the week after, for me, so straight after race, is try and get it's getting back into the sleeping mode, because it's the sleep that helps our muscles recover and so on, and resting. And again, you might be buzzing, especially if you've got a shiny new PB or whatever, or got your medal and you're all excited. The night after that event, you might not get any sleep because you're so excited, or you've been having your champagne and whatever, celebrating, which is fine, but it's just recovering and resting. I know some people go out on recovery runs the day after ultras and marathons. Me personally, I don't get it. No, definitely not. At least a week. I don't know. Leave some comments here. What do you guys do after a marathon? The day after, the week after. Do you rest and recover? Take time off from the running? I certainly believe in active recovery, which is maybe a bit of walking. Certainly, I remember in Chicago, I was there for the whole week after, because I wanted to do a bit of sightseeing. And I remember going up to Milwaukee on the train. That was an experience and a half, going up to Milwaukee, where they filmed Wayne's World, party on, and also Happy Days. Does anyone remember the Farms? Hey, yes. So that was all up in Milwaukee, and there was that famous. I won't do that joke about that band and the history of Milwaukee, but yes, it was certainly easy runs after a race. 3 days off straight after, Dave. Yeah, excellent. 1 week off, 100-mile ultra, then slow ramp up. Exactly, Rito. It's taking time off, allowing our bodies to recover properly, because we have battered it, especially after 100 miles. you know, that's a long way. And yeah, we certainly want to keep moving. I'm not saying sit on your butt all day. In fact, on my blog on the Grounded Republic, I've shown that the science that if you're sitting on your butt, irrespective of how much training and running and sprinting and cycling that we do each day, if we're sitting on our butts for more than 6 hours, it actually doesn't help our health. So when I'm talking about not doing anything, I'm not talking about sitting on our butts watching Netflix for the 12 hours a day. I'm talking about, you know, having some movement in there in terms of walking or swimming or whatever, but not running, not going up trails and mountains again, because you want to allow your body to recover and certainly keep the nutrients coming in, whatever works for you, whether it be the carbs, the proteins, vegetables, all that type of stuff to allow our muscles to recover from that. And that's the week. And then, as you've said, Rito, then you slowly ramp up for starting for the next event. And one of the tips that I was given long ago in terms of keeping us motivated, because what people often ask me, what keeps you motivated to keep running? And again, it's different for different people. And for me, I've already got my next challenge lined up for after I do my 10K this Sunday. So I won't announce this until next week, the week after, or whatever. So keep an eye out on my social meds. If you're looking on my social meds, yes, Poet with Pace. So on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, you can follow me on the social meds. And I might do a little announcement on here. So I've already got my next challenge lined up after the 10K. So someone was saying that, like, yes, book another race. That's exactly the tip, Dave, that was given to me when I had my first marathon at Brighton. They said have the next event booked. So whether it be a 5K, 10K, another marathon, whatever, have something booked, have it planned, because when you finish, depending on how you feel, that can determine whether you do anything. And Mike, good question. Anybody tried ice baths? Yes, Wim Hof method. I've got to say, Mike, I've not personally tried it because I'm of my Mediterranean blood, just can't take it. I have heard everybody I know who's tried it swears by it, but I refer back to my good book, yes, where she interviews people who have, I think it's called cryogenic chambers, you know, these ice chambers where a lot of elite athletes, after they've done, certainly there was the story, and I digress a little away from running, but back a few years ago, a particular soccer club, football club, won the league championship, the premiership, and it was a bit out of character because it wasn't the usual big five. You may recall it was Leicester City, who the season before were in the bottom, and they went on to win. Now, they'd done the research. How is it these players can recover so quickly? What are they doing? And it was cryo chambers, these ice chambers where you go in just your swimming trunks and you sort of stand there and it's all cold. And apparently it helps with recovery. The good book talks about is that there is no scientific proof that it works. However, everybody they interviewed who said they found it really useful, it was really useful. Does that make sense? Which goes back to the placebo. If you believe it's going to work, it will work. I don't think there is a little bit of science, but in her book, she always talks about the length of the tests, the amount of people that are tested, and all the science and the facts. And it literally takes years and years to prove it. And it's not 100% conclusive, but everybody who does it swears by it and it works for them. You might have heard of Wim Hof. Google him, WIMHOFF, the Iceman they call him. I think he's about my age. He's been doing this for donkey's years, but he talks about breathing, and it's almost like a meditative state of getting in, because he's from a Scandinavian country where I think it's pretty cold all year round there. Having been to Sweden and Iceland, I know how cold it is out there, and it is pretty damn cold. And Lapland, I've been out to Lapland as well. Father Christmas, I'm coming to you. Although I think it might be cancelled because of what's going on, but it's certainly, thank you, Rito, for being here. Yeah, we're all going to stay safe here. Thumbs up, subscribe. Not an ice bath, but you've tried cryotherapy after a marathon, which worked really well. 3 minutes of being very uncomfortable, though. It's only 3 minutes for you, Peter. So yeah, those professional footballers, they went into cryo chambers, and yeah, lots of cryo chambers sprouted up where she was living in out in the mountains in USA. They were appearing everywhere, and it was a bit of a buzz. And again, I think it was a bit of a fad, and but it does work for some people. It doesn't work for others. I think it's again, it depends on your level of athleticism, because again, you know, it can work for pain relief. And as you've said, Mike, there is no strong, there is evidence is not strong enough exactly. There's not enough conclusive scientific evidence to say it works. But if it feels good, for me, I love sitting in a hot bath. For me, that feels really good and relaxing, especially with some bath salts or whatever, Epsom salts. For me, it feels really good and I feel like I'm relaxing. So if my brain is feeling like it's relaxing, guess what happens to my muscles? They relax. It's the same way as getting sleep. So I think it's a case of try it and see how it works for you. I certainly remember people like Mo Farah and all these people, they'd have the big buckets and they would literally just jump into this bucket of ice for 3 or 4 minutes because they needed rapid recovery for the next race. So again, I think it's to do with the level of athleticism, what they're doing in a race. And because they're racing like every 2 days, they needed rapid recovery. And I think it's been proven to do rapid recovery, but the long-term damage might not be good. Yeah. So again, I think the jury's out. It's not conclusive. So in answer to your question, Mike, I don't think it is conclusive, but try it, see how it works. If you feel good doing it, then carry on doing it in the same way. Some people feel good eating this stuff on ultras and some people don't. So just do what feels good. So thank you all so much for being here. As I say, I'm going to wrap up. Thank you all so much for the wonderful comments up and down there. It's been absolutely amazing. I really do appreciate you guys coming here live every week. I was going to say I look forward to seeing you next week. As I mentioned earlier, I'm not going to be here next week. I'm away all week up in the Lake District camping. So I'm going to have a bit of a jog around the mountains and hills and whatever. Hopefully the weather will be good. Who knows? It might even be, hopefully it won't be snowing. But I'm very much looking forward to my 10K time trial this Sunday. And keep an eye out for me publishing the week's training video diary, because it's a packed week. Whilst this is taper week, there's a lot going on in this week because it's quite essential to taper correctly and be ready for that event, because I'm going to go out there and do my best. That's all I can do. And it's definitely essential for me to ensure that I'm fit and ready to go. And yes, I'm looking forward to my week off. As I say, I will be doing some easy jogs around the lake areas, but I don't know. I haven't been to the Lake District in like 10 years, 15 years. So it'll be interesting to see what's up there. But yes, thank you all so much. Remember, thumbs up. And those who watched the replay and got all the way to the end here, you're amazing. Make sure you're subscribed. And I'll see you all soon. Keep in touch. And whatever you are, whatever you do, guys, keep running. Oh yes, thank you, and bye-bye. End stream now.